Today, we're here to talk about the recent news that has happened in the hobby over the last couple of months. What's up, guys? Today, we are back here with another video with Mason today, on his birthday actually.
Oh yeah.
How are we feeling today?
Feeling great.
So we're going to talk about today the just recent news that's happened in the hobby. We haven't posted a video in a bit. Our last video was
Pre-national,
yeah, pre-national. So we're going to talk to you about the national card shows and then other big news that's happened around the hobby. So let's just get right into it with our first topic with the national. So national happened a couple months ago.
Yeah.
A lot of pros, a lot of cons, a lot of good stuff, bad things that came out of it. So let's just go in. What's a pro that you had about the national?
So I'm just gonna go straight into it. It was in Chicago this year. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest pro.
Yeah.
This year was my first year in Chicago, and over all the past nationals that I've been to, I can easily say Chicago is the best, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just such a big pro just saying that we're back in Chicago alone because
In the
it
next
just
couple of years too.
yeah, it works so well. I mean, it definitely works just well where you have the convention is in this place, and then you have hotels all around it, and then you have restaurants all around it or within a 5-minute drive. And it works so well because it's all in that one strip, you know.
Yeah,
and then
it also works so well because it's like smack in the middle of the country. It's like when it was in Atlantic City and even in Cleveland, it's a lot harder for those dealers who are more from the West Coast to get here. When it's smack in the middle of the country, everyone from all over can make it there.
yeah, it's an
So,
easier travel,
yeah.
easier drive if you're a dealer, want to bring other memorabilia and cards also. I mean, when you talk about how easy it was, right? You know, you got hotels connected to the convention center.
Mhm.
You got walk down the road, there's your lunch for the day. Walk
Exactly.
across the street, you can have a steak dinner, right? And then you're 20-25 minutes away from the city if you really wanted to go to the city. I mean, that's definitely, like you said, a big pro of the national in general being back in Chicago. One pro I thought was good vibe, good flow of the show. Everything in the convention worked. And what I mean by that is we had a good AC that worked, right?
Wi-Fi.
We had Wi-Fi that was better. Not 100% the best, but better, right? If you look from Cleveland, Wi-Fi barely worked, right? If you go back 2 years, you go back to Chicago. AC broke, Wi-Fi was and they made a big investment, a big effort to change that this year in the putting new AC systems, putting an upgraded Wi-Fi system, which actually wasn't 100% complete yet while we were there. But I will say, the Wi-Fi was still good. You were still able to look up comps, still able to post things. It didn't take too long. So that's one big pro I thought of it. Got another?
I'd definitely say variety was pretty good. I mean, there was a lot of just everything, football, basketball, baseball, good amount of soccer this year, which I know you were very happy about. I mean, I know they like the SoCo Expo and stuff outside of it, but good amount of soccer stuff. And I actually saw a lot more variety with even like the TCG stuff and a lot of UFC stuff actually. So a lot of UFC, a lot of wrestling there too, which I like because it just shows that it's like the hobby's still growing into other sports and that the market for those other sports is just going to keep going up.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is big. You want to see a variety. You want to see if someone's there for vintage, if someone's there for for current baseball, if someone's there for football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, that they have some options, right? And it's always good to see that. Another thing I would say is the events were great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you had trade night, 3 nights, and it was amazing, right? The lines for trade night was
Insane.
through the door. It was crazy. There was lines to get in, and that was obviously great.
Yeah,
You
extra
mentioned-
trade nights were great too.
You mentioned
The
the
hotels.
you mentioned the soccer show, right? You know, a little pain just to drive 20 minutes. to get there, but you know what? It is what it is. That show was also great, right? They have their own separate location where it will just all soccer collectors there, and you have primarily soccer cards. So if you're looking for primarily soccer cards, that's the show to go to, and that's what you want when it comes to maybe a primarily sport only card trade show, whatever you want to call it. Which was good because you get all just passionate soccer collectors, and you're able to kind of narrow down your search, which I do like. And like you said, I do think that they can hopefully this year partner with the national just show in general, so it's a bit closer and it maybe attached to the convention this year, maybe a little something different, so it's not too far. But you know, we'll see. They did mention they wanted to do that. Like you said before, another big thing with the external was the trade nights outside of the official trade night. And I will say,
the Hyatt one was great.
The trade nights that the hotels that were connected to the show, the one I was in and the Hyatt, right? They were great. At night, you had tons of people there. You had people just trading there, and I will say, after trade night was over, or if you got done with the actual trade night where you were in,
everyone would go.
You just walk across.
Walk
across the Sky Bridge, and you're in the Hyatt, right? And you know, and that's where you did see a lot of cool high end, right? It wasn't just people with, you know, just certain cards. There was high end. There was
Mid-end.
all kinds of cards there that was crazy. That was cool. And that's exactly what you want to see. The vibe was great. They were there at 2 a.m, 4 a.m. There was messes that made, but it was crazy.
It was great. Yeah.
And that's what you want to see, right? If you're there primarily for cards, right? Sure, but be out until 12 a.m. or midnight and just trade and go to each event and see what it's like. And then, to be honest, you know, what the good part about it is, you know, you could have went there and said, you know what? I like the show. I went to trade night. I didn't find anything too good at trade night, but then I went to the Hyatt after, and I loved the Hyatt. Now, next day, if you're there for 2 days, 3 days, you go to the show and you go directly to the Hyatt. Exactly. You don't have to waste time. That's the cool thing about having multiple
trade nights,
multiple days, where you have the opportunity to see everything. Right? You could go to the soccer show, you could go to trade night, you could go to the Hyatt. All in the matter of 2 days, 1 day, whatever you like to do, which is good for variety.
Yeah.
What's a con?
Well, I actually just want to say one more pro, and it's going to lead into a con. But you mentioned a bit about vintage. You know, I'm not that big of a vintage guy, but they actually I think they did a very good job this year of kind of sectioning things off, where a lot of the more vintage stuff was towards the front, and as you went more towards the back of the main floor, towards that little side thing, the Breakers Pavilion, and even to that back room over there, that's when you got to see a lot of the more modern stuff. Like they did a very good job of sectioning and pushing all the vintage kind of to one section, which has been
in the front entrance.
Yeah, which was 2 years ago. Yeah, that was a bit of a complaint of mine with Cleveland and AC was just a little too spread out with the vintage. And I think that, like, people who don't really like it that much, like them pushing it more towards the front was definitely a big pro. But one of my cons, and I know there are the few that out there that do like it, there's a bit too much of the junk there. You know, you go to it's kind of a problem with all these nationals as of recent, is you'll go there and you'll see people selling, like, random pictures or bottle caps or like stuff like that at a sports card at like a card show, and there was definitely a very good amount of that, good amount of stuff with just like not still cards, but like a bit more of the like junk wax, where there was even entire like 5 or 6 table sections that was just all like 50-cent junk wax stuff, which I know people are into that, but it's like, does that really have a place at the Nationals?
Well, I mean, it poses a question because, you know, you brought up 2 scenarios, one which you're pro, one which you're con. Yes, I personally, a lot of other people don't really want to see that. Maybe a couple of people there that want to see that, but still, there's other dealers that we know that have been trying to get a booth at the National, and they can't because
they're grandfathered in.
They're going to these people, And you know what? It is what it is because they've been setting up as a dealer since maybe the 2000s, the 90s, right? And they automatically get a table, and if they continue to do it, we can't do anything about it, right? But that also poses a question that you brought up of, yeah, we don't want to see it. It's a national sports card show, right? So then why should I see Pokemon there, right? It's like, I'm not there for Pokemon. A lot of other people aren't there for Pokemon. The title shows National Sports Card Convention Show. And that poses a question, should we see these other things? Because it does bring more people into it if we see maybe people do like collecting photos, flags, bottle caps, whatever that they were selling. Pokemon too, where this was primarily supposed to be a sports card show, which I do like. That I don't really see a lot of Pokemon right at these shows. I'm also not looking for it, so that may be a reason too. But it's like, you know what? This is a sports card show, right? And that's what it's been, right? You know what? If they're letting everyone else come in, it is what it is. Another con, I'll just say this. I'm gonna bring up a con. A con that I saw was they increased the space. They did it bigger, right? They made it bigger, but one thing is they didn't make it as big. They had more room, right? If you went to upstairs, right? They had that upstairs couple of rows, right? You look in there. I made a couple of deals there too. You look in there and you look around. They have tons of space there, tons of space, right? And it's like they made like 5 rows, but they were all crammed into this one little space. It's like, just spread it out, right? You have so much other space, or even add more booths. And that's what I think they could do next year, because they listened from last Chicago to last Cleveland. They added more, right? They added the upstairs, they added more booths, right? That's what we want. Give more dealers a chance to have it, so that you could continue having the people who are always getting a table still have their table, but also get the high end, also get the really good sports card collectors, get them a table, whether it's on the top, whether it's on the bottom, doesn't matter. They have a table. Expand that, right? You use that, you're able to expand. It solves a lot of problems that we just talked about, right? So now people aren't really caring about more of that. If you're selling a bottle cap, flags, or whatever, because they're making it so much bigger. Mm-hmm. Another thing I will say with the layout is, me personally, I get rid of the breakers. Get rid of the breakers pavilion, right? Or make it much smaller. 2 reasons. One, when you buy a table as a breaker, this is factually correct, right? When you buy a table in the breakers pavilion, 1, you're not allowed to sell. You are not allowed to sell cards. Because whether it's for, I don't know if they're paying a different price or whatever it is, or maybe because they're in a better location than other dealers, they're not allowed to sell cards, right? They're just primarily there to rip cards, right? Which is cool, but think about it. How many times are you, me, other people walking by, watching a break and saying, all right, let me buy into that? No, not really. You know who's buying into the breaks? They're people at home who can't be at the National, that are saying, all right, you're at the National, you're ripping cards, let me buy into your break. Mm-hmm. People at the National aren't actually buying into your break. You walk by.
Very rare that people do.
You walk by and you're just looking at the break and watching it for a couple minutes and then moving on, right? So they're not allowed to sell cards. Most of the people aren't buying into your break. So it's like, why really have it? Yeah. Right? And it's not suiting people at the National.
Yeah, and I'd say to go with that is, there are some breakers, even guys kind of local to us, like I'd say a good example is Filth Bomb, and they did this pretty good at the National in 2021 with NAC, is, they have like their breaking thing, but because they also aren't just breakers, they have their own store, they sell cards. For breakers who want to do that, I agree with you, get rid of the breaking pavilion, but breakers who have their cards that they want to sell, reserve tables for them so they can set up shop and deal their cards there. And like, if they want to break, if anything, make it a trade night event. Make it a trade night event, because I know they have some of the events going on at trade night. Put some of the breakers up there at trade night, and put them on schedule saying, okay, this breaker's ripping this breaker's doing this mixer, do this and that, and you have that going on at trade night instead of taking up a pretty big space at the show.
Yeah, I mean, another thing you can do is, if you're a breaker but you also sell cards, right? Just buy a normal table, but on one of your booths, just break cards there, right? Just set up like you would set up in a breakers pavilion, instead of having 3 tables full of breaks, have 1, right, table, and then you sell the cards on 2.
Exactly.
You know, and there's much more, and that all comes down to, like what we were saying, is just increasing the show, increase it to more collectors for sports cards, right? And, you know, it is, we'll see in the coming year. I think they're going to do a good job listening like they did the last 2 years. A lot of people had complaints. They fixed a lot of it, right? Now we're kind of just nitpicking. We want it bigger. And now we're just questioning, you know, the AC was good. Everything was good like that. Now we're questioning, are we using the space correctly?
Exactly.
You know, because it was crowded. It was crowded. So that's why people are starting to question, how can we make this not
More
less
efficient.
crowded, but more efficient to get through the aisles, to get more tables, to get more dealers in there. And these are some of the results people have thought about, is getting rid of the Breakers Pavilion, increasing upstairs. Some may be really starting to question, all right, how should we evaluate who gets a table or not? We'll all see in the next year. All right, to close out this national segment that we've been talking about, let's go over personal experiences, how we think the show was, what pickups, and just things we could do for next time that we witnessed this time.
All right. So for me, with the national, I actually didn't do too good. I went in there definitely with the wrong mindset. And to be honest, I went in there looking to buy football stuff, not knowing at the time that I had completely missed the window to go buy into and go invest in some football stuff. And seeing at the National, knowing that already that prices were going to be a little high, but them being even higher than usual national standard because the market for football was already on the up, I actually didn't get too much. So
now, you know, we've talked about this before, but, you know, just for other people, you know, you want to be investing in quarterbacks, you know, before the season, obviously, but if you believe in it, you want to be doing it early.
Exactly.
During the off season, May, June, bit of July too. You know what? The time may have been not right, but also, you know, buying quarterbacks at the National, it's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're one of the most popular things because you're leading into the football season.
And they're just one of the most popular things in the hobby in general.
Yeah, so it's like the value of that's going to be up already. And then you have dealers who are going to want premium, so they're not going to give you the great deals, right, like you'll see with other things. You know, so that's something to just, you know, you prepare better next time. Me personally, I thought it was great, right? Show, like we said before, show and general trade nights, everything was great. I had a great time. Great pickups too, nice high-end Messies, couple cool vintage cards. That's really it when it comes to just pickup name-wise. Couple mantles, Koufax, but it was primarily like a Messi thing, like I said before. Picking up Messies left and right. A lot of great deals that I found with those cards. A lot of cool buyers too. That
So some good stuff, yeah.
Got to talk to and also worked with you when it came to those higher end cards, which was really nice, really cool to see. I thought overall the vibes were great. Trade night with the hotels were great. Saw great deals there too. I just thought people were also willing to work with you there too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so what now if you were to do something different, right? You know, going into next national or, you know, just picking up something different, having a different mentality, what would it be? Not just saying I'm going to buy quarterbacks earlier, but like walking in there. I know it was your first Chicago one, but you've been to it, you know what to expect. Mm-hmm. Walking in there, what can you do better, more efficiently, so you don't have that happen?
I'll say to everyone, the number one thing you need to do when you go to a national, especially if it's your first one ever, but it's something you should keep consistent with every national. Know what you want to buy. Know what you want to buy, because if you don't, then you're going to be walking around scrambling. You're going to have no clue what you're looking for. There's going to be so much thrown at you. Oh, I want this card. Oh, I want this card. Oh, if I want this, I'm going to buy this, but am I going to have enough money to get this? You need to know what you're looking for, because there's so much that's going to be thrown at you that it's not going to go good.
Yeah. I also think that, you know, knowing what to buy, it really depends on the collector and where they are at with the collection, what their goals are at a certain standpoint. Where it's like, you talk to me and maybe you ask me what I'm getting, I'm going to say, I'll give you a list of players. I don't know what exact card, right?
Exactly.
If I were to tell you in June or in the previous video the exact card I was buying, no, that's all incorrect, right? If I were to specifically say I'm buying this card, this card, this card, you could probably look back at that video and say, no, it was all incorrect.
Exactly.
I bought something similar to this card, this card, this card.
Exactly, because you don't know that you're going to find that specific
It's what
card.
you find, number one, and what deals, what works in the moment, right? You could see something different. You can maybe find that card, but you see something different that catches your eye.
Yeah. And I'll say another thing, something you should be doing leading up to the National that you definitely realized, me not as much, was find people that you negotiate with on Instagram or find cards that you like on Instagram, try and negotiate for them and see if they're going to be at the National so you can make deals with them.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time, if you're a collector, right, and it's a bit different from being a flipper, right, if you're a collector, right, and there's going to be certain cards that you're really going to want, right, and that's the part of being a collector, right, but it's not being a collector and finally getting on a plane and going to the show looking for that card. No, it's the work you put in before to get that deal done, right? Maybe you get lucky and you're looking for a specific high-end card, right? And you magically find it, right? What are the odds of that? Who knows, right? That doesn't really always happen. If people start counting on that to happen, you're not going to find most of the time if it's a rare card, right? But the work putting up to it, right? You going on Instagram, you going on eBay, Bearswap, all these different platforms, finding the exact card you want, asking if they're going to be at the National, trying to make a deal before the National. So right when you go there, you'll get the cash, you'll get the card, right? Something like that. It all matters, right? When you go to these shows, right? Not much local, but when you go to these big shows, all matters on the work you put in before. I also think is as you get after day one, right? It's much easier also to be in the National.
A lot more settled in, used to the environment.
You know where everything is, right? Me, I'm around the whole show in day one, right? I know almost where everything is, right? Sometimes you gotta rush, but it is what it is, right? You don't really want to do that, right? But if you know where everything is, right, it will save you a great amount of time, right? And I know, because what did you do when you first got here on Friday, right? You walked the show, right? But when we saw each other maybe Friday afternoon, kind of towards the end of the first day for you, right? And I've already been there a day, right? So I know, I knew a little more. And you told me I'm looking for this card and this card. I'm like, oh, well, I know dealers who have those high-end type of cards, right? And I pointed you in the back direction, right? You wouldn't know that you're looking at the vintage in the front. So you're spending a couple hours wasting your time there, right? And that's the cool thing about if you're there multiple days, right? You get to know. So like, say you did the whole show for day one, right? Day two, you come back saying, I know what card I'm going to get, and I know what section it's going to be. You go right to there and make the deal. Knowing and being prepared is the biggest aspect of your game, right? Being prepared, having deals in place also could be huge, right? Because it just gets you going, right? I always say, you buy the first thing, it gets you going, right? And sometimes it takes a while, right? It takes a while for me, it takes a while for you, but once you buy that first thing, you get going, right? But it's making life for yourself easier, right? If you make life for yourself easier when you're going to that show, you're gonna have a successful show. If you know dealers who are willing to buy cards already off you before you go there, it's so much easier. You walk up to their booth, you get their number, maybe you're like, all right, deal right there and then, or you just take it around, see if anyone else wants it too, but then you just go shake the deal. It's much easier. Saves a lot less time. Let's move on to a new topic. Let's talk about the market. We've seen a big increase in the market from last June to now. The market has been booming. Specific players, specific cards, specific sets, and to be honest, we've seen a record sale, multiple record sales in different ways. But our new highest card ever was there was a new record. It was a Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant dual Logo Man auto. I forget the grade. but it sold for 12.9 million.
Yeah.
Thoughts,
Bro.
comments? What is this doing for the hobby, and how's the market affecting it?
I mean, it's one of the biggest sales ever. It is the biggest sale ever, and for a great card too. I think obviously both of the logo men are game worn. Two legends in just all of sports. I just think it's a great sale, definitely, and it's also probably, I think it's the biggest modern sale too, because the previous record held by the Wagner, that's a vintage card. This card is from late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, it's a more modern card compared to older cards like that.
Yeah. Actually, the previous record was Mantle at
Oh, yeah.
at 12.
And then the Wagner. Yeah.
But we all know that, projection wise, if the highest Wagner copy, if the highest PSA 10 Mantle ever went for sale, yeah, it's gonna blow this out of the water.
Yeah.
What we're talking about right now, right? We're talking about this sold for 12.9 million, and or 14.9. And this elevates the market, right? It elevates the Jordan market, elevates the Kobe market, and it just brings up the market, right? And we're seeing this, that if there's record sales of a card, if there's a high sale of an all-time card, right?
Market jumps.
It lifts the market for that player, sometimes for that sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a great example is, which I've been saying, is Messi, where
Mega Cracks just sold for $1 million, right?
his market has gone crazy since June, and I've been saying within the coming last 2 years to buy Messi, because leading up to the World Cup, it's only going to go crazy. And trust me, it has 300% increase from June to now, and we saw that increase starting at the National, where his PSA 10 rookie was privately sold for $800K, right? 2 weeks later, it did $1 million, and then another 2 weeks later, $1.5 million for a PSA 10. Highest ever soccer sale, highest ever Messi sale. And what did that do? His market is crazy up, and I'm taking advantage of it. I'm selling, I'm going to sell off half, and I'm trying to get into more cards of Messi just for the World Cup, but you're cashing in. People are cashing in, selling
big
a ton,
money on it.
right? And that's just elevating the market, right? And it's doing it for the soccer market in general. People are now having eyes where you're seeing record sales saying, Messi sold for 1.5 million. I mean, so now people are looking at the soccer market. People have a ton of interest in that. What's another one?
I mean, I want to just real quick go back to that sale of the Jordan Kobe. You can even see it in some of the smaller cards. I mean, a card that I've been looking at for a while is the East-West Jordan Kobe. That card saw almost $1,000 jump from before that sale to now. I mean, I know you bought one for around $500-$600 at a National a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Now that card's selling for $1,600 and probably even around $2,000 now.
Yeah.
So those big sales, people are capitalizing on them. Definitely, it's causing the market to rise around those players.
One player, I think, if we're changing from basketball to soccer, one player, let's just talk about football and baseball. Two players, right? And this is common, right? Everyone knows quarterbacks go up. Drake May, he's been going up like crazy, right? Rookie quarterbacks, and it's all a risk. It's all a risk. It's 100% a risk, because if Drake May starts out 2-4, whatever, to start this year, no one's really buying it. His market's kind of staying the same, going down, right? People who had thought Michael Penix, who had a good ending to last year when he started, he's not been showing out recently, right? So his market's going down, right? So it's all a big risk, right? But people who definitely bought Drake May as an investment, they're working. Another one is for baseball. You're looking at the playoffs, right? Ohtani, Judge, and Vlad, right? If you look at their markets over the last 3 months in general, based when the playoff has started, they've been the top three. Makes sense, right? They were three top teams in the playoffs. Ohtani with a crazy game the other night. Vlad's been going crazy. Judge had a great playoff run, right? All three of those markets have increased, and you know what? It really allows people to see, like, how can you make money, Well, it's a gamble sometimes. We all know that. But if you pick the right player at the right time, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you bought Judge, Ohtani, Guerrero, and other players before the playoffs, you could have made a good amount of profit. If you bought Drake May, you could have made a good amount of profit. If you bought Messi a year ago, you would have made a great amount of profit.
Yeah,
but also
buy guys like Michael Penix, and even we're starting to see a little bit with Jaden Daniels because he's been having some injury trouble this season.
yeah,
You buy them when they're big, they're very hyped, don't do too good, their markets are going down. But one thing I will say, at this point, even if his prices are crazy, you just cannot go wrong with buying some Ohtani. Dude, this guy is a generational player, one of the best, if not the best athletes we've ever seen, especially after this big game that he just had. I just don't think his market's ever going to go down. I think it's just going to keep climbing, especially because he is internationally popular.
well, what's interesting about it is looking at the market a couple of days ago, actually, which is fresh in my mind, is someone like Ohtani, someone like Judge, not yet Guerrero yet, that we mentioned, but those guys are already proven MVPs every year, right? They're the top players in the league. Their market doesn't affect them that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ohtani wins another MVP, yeah, it'll go up, but not as much as if a young star wins it.
Yeah.
That came up, right? You know, he is kind of steadily starting to settle into a price where it'll just only increase a bit once he wins a World Series, once he wins the MVP. Same with Judge. People, they're in their middle of their career. We know what to expect from them, right? Their market is kind of settling into a place where it's good, and then it's going to keep steadily increasing as they achieve more accomplishments, win World Series, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, my thing with Ohtani is just like, especially comparing him to Judge, let's say, is Judge, you know what you're getting every year. You're going to get a 300-plus hitter. He's hitting 40-plus, 50-plus homers a year. With Ohtani, the only reason I think his market will keep going up more than Judge's, like you said, yeah, Judge will have like these little spikes here and there if he does something cool. Ohtani has the potential and will continue to consistently break records and make headlines. Ohtani breaking records is going to cause his market to jump immensely.
Mm-hmm. Let's wrap this up. Last topic that we also had some breaking news on is
Licensing.
What has happened with that? As we know, Topps now has licensing for basketball for the first time in like 10 plus years, which is going to be interesting to see. I'm not much affected by it. I know a lot of people are talking about it. How is that going to affect the basketball market? What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I don't think the market itself is going to change that much. I think the players that you're going to be chasing are still going to be the same. Still going to be going after young rookies, Cooper Flag, guys like that. You'll be going after the stars like LeBron. And a big thing with Topps is, and they do it in baseball, is the retro autographs, the legend autographs, where you're chasing autographs of retired legends and Hall of Famers. So I feel like that market might grow a little bit, but to be honest, I think the market and the players that people are chasing is going to relatively stay the same. The thing is, though, the type of the cards are just different, and we're going to have to see how that affects the Panini market, especially because some of their products and their cards are so iconic, like Prism, Kabooms, Downtowns, all those special inserts. We're going to see how it's going to affect the market for that stuff with it now being unlicensed.
Well, actually, when you say the market won't get affected, I disagree, right? I think the market of the players are also going to be affected, right? Because now you don't know what Topps is going to bring, right, with these new licensing. You have an idea with just based on the baseball product that you've seen out, but these cards now, what's going to happen with Flawless? What's going to happen, like you said, with these popular inserts with Kabooms, Downtowns, all that stuff, right? That's going to affect the players' market big time, because what if now it's like, are they going to just give them a home field advantage like they have in baseball? those are definitely nowhere near
Downtowns.
the value of a downtown, right? So
They
that's
don't look as
that's
good.
two things, right? That means the previous downtowns of back then are going to go up, and two, that's just not going to hold value enough, right? It's not going to hold value. So that definitely affects the players market of sales, right? How many big time sales are they going to have with Topps? What type of cards are they going to make close enough to National Treasures, close enough to Panini Flawless, close enough to all these good products they've had over the past? One thing I do like though with Topps is they have they're very well connected within the sport in general with baseball, football, and basketball, right? They announced that they have now with Wemby, right? Wemby was a big hit. Now you have Cooper Flag, who's another big hit, right? They announced now that you're going to have NBA debut patches, right?
Great idea.
It's a great idea, right? Just like what they did with baseball. So that's going to get a lot of attention on them,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's the cool thing about Topps, where they'll shift the market to what they like to do. But the question is, people already loved all the Panini stuff that they had going, right? So is it going to be the same with Topps? Are they going to make sort of the same product, right? Are they going to look exactly the same? We don't know, right? We'll see in the next couple months how they handle it. But it's definitely a concern. It's definitely a question, something to be excited about possibly, of how the market's going to shape up with these players. Is it a good time to buy old Panini Kabooms, Downtowns? Is it a good time to get out of basketball? We don't know.
Yeah.
So that's something, you kind of got to decide, which definitely will be interesting.
Yeah.
So this will conclude our recap of today's video. We hope you guys enjoyed, learned something of investment national-wise, and we'll probably catch you in the next one of another update within the hobby, card shows, and all that. See you guys.